Chairperson, you're ready. You're free to proceed.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Trees, soon to be the Trees and Green Infrastructure Committee, after that's voted on by the commissioners. And this is Friday, November 13th, our lucky day at 10 a.m. So first I'd like to do roll call. I'm just going to go by who I see on screen here. We do have a quorum. We're only missing one member, but we have Andrea Hoffman.
Here.
Elise Burns.
Here.
Jerry Eskew.
Here.
Here. You may be on mute. Joan Flaherty.
Here.
Commissioner Dick Byrne.
Here.
And Bunky Market.
Here.
And the chair is here, and we're missing Katie Downs, who just notified me last night that something had come up, so she's the only one not here. The next item on our agenda is an unusual one in that we haven't done this in a long time, approval of minutes. And there are 4 that I sent before today, and they are for all 3 of the 2020 meeting. Well, the meeting in February didn't happen because there wasn't a quorum, but it was assembled, so there are brief minutes for that. So the meetings held on January 10th and February 14th before the COVID shutdown. And then our first meeting virtually October 9th, 2020. And going back to last year, we did not have a December meeting, but the minutes are there for the November 8th, 2019 meeting. So can I get everything to the minutes?
Yeah, just a comment, Susan. The minutes that you sent look very good to me and very complete and thorough. I received 2 sets of the February 14th minutes as opposed to a 4th set of.
Oh, really? Oh, did that happen with everybody? Okay.
No? Okay. Well, that's weird.
No, I did see 2 sets of 14th, but I got all of the minutes.
Okay. That's okay. I'm glad. I must have attached it twice for some reason. Okay. Were there any questions about any of them? Okay.
Some edits, right?
Huh?
Didn't Elise have some edits?
I just had a couple edits.
Oh, for now? To tell me now?
Well, I wrote them in an email, but do you want them now?
When did you send them?
This morning.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I did not see that.
Well, it looked like the January minutes actually had the February date on them.
Okay.
I noted that.
Here on my part. Okay. Correct date. All right.
And then it's just about the consistency with Bunky's name. We use Francis or Bunky.
Okay.
So not to confuse.
If you're going to spell it Francis, just spell it right. That's all.
Okay, so we spelled it. Is it right?
It's IS, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Oh, so it is wrong in the. It's wrong in the minutes.
Okay. All right. I don't do good. Okay.
Whatever you want. I don't care.
Okay, I'll make those corrections. Anything else? That just shows my lack of experience doing this. Anything else, or those are the only 2?
I think that was it.
Okay. All right. So I still need a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. And just to note also, I'm going to have to go back. There haven't been any for quite a while when Tony was chair. And so I've been told by Ann I need to go back and do them all. So you'll be revisiting a lot of older meetings coming up. I'm going to try to do 3 or 4, at each of our meetings. And I'll do them, back, starting, going backwards. So starting with last fall and then going further. Anyway. So I don't think we have any correspondence today. I haven't seen anything. And the first thing under old business is our priorities for 2021 that we started talking about last time. And just as a reminder, we are limited strictly to an hour today, which I think, given our agenda, we should be able to make some good progress. But so I'll be watching the clock and so that we can get everything in. But the first item is Arbor Day. Andrea, do you want to start that?
Sure. First of all, things are very up in the air, and there are lots and lots of movable pieces here. Plan A would be basically to redo what we did 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, there were two major pieces. The first piece had to do with, first of all, we've teamed up with Rehoboth Elementary School as well as the Art League. So the first part would be the inside part, and that is our kids participate, two grades, it was 4th and 5th grade at Rehoboth Elementary School, participate in a statewide poster contest. It is run by the Department of Agriculture through the Forestry Division. And this year, the Forestry Division is going to offer this program. The plan is to do it again this year, using as the theme that they had proposed last year, which is trees are terrific. We've heard that before, in so many wonderful ways. So what we would do is we would have a contest here judged by the Art League, and then hang the show at City Hall. And then have a short ceremony with the kids coming through. Last year, or 2 years ago, we had 170 kids that came through in there were two different grades. So we did this ceremony twice. So this piece is going to go forward this year. And it is possible that we could have the poster contest and hang a show. Now, kids would be there if it works out that way, but we could still do this remotely. So that's piece one. Piece two is the outside piece. And what we did 2 years ago was have it at the elementary school. And that's because we had 170 kids to move around and to participate. If we have an outside portion with kids this year, I would propose that we do it again at the new Rehoboth Elementary School, where we could actually plant a forest there. There's plenty of room. What we did at the elementary school, and the one piece of this that has to happen according to the Arbor Day program nationally is that our mayor has to read the proclamation. So if there is an outdoor piece with kids, we would have the mayor, as we did 2 years ago, give the proclamation at the elementary school. And the plan would be that each grade, what we're thinking about doing this year, and this depends on teacher input, which I do not fully have yet. I have not been able to contact one of the teachers that participated 2 years ago. Seems to have left the area, and the other one I have not yet heard from. But the program that we had decided on last year is the following. Each grade at Rehoboth Elementary School, K through 5, would do some research from a list of trees, which we would provide them. And each grade would vote on their favorite tree, their class's favorite tree. And then we would propose that each grade then have planted their favorite tree somewhere on the grounds. So the state, I've been in touch with the state program, the Arbor Day program, and the woman who runs that program, by the way, the date, let me start with the date. The date is going to be April 30th, which is a Friday. And that is National Arbor Day. That is the actual date. And what I have done is lock in the ranger who is in charge of this program statewide. And she spent part of the day with us 2 years ago. She does a wonderful, wonderful 10 to 15 minute speech. It's sort of a participatory speech with the kids, and she is fabulous. So she has agreed to spend the day with us on the 30th. I did clear this date with Chris Johnson. There's nothing right now on the calendar. So anyway, we would have if things go, if we're able to do an outside piece, we would propose planting these trees by each grade doing this. She mentioned, her name is Ashley Melvin, and she mentioned that there may be state funding to purchase these trees, in which case there could be a second. Now, this is, if we have 170 kids to deal with, we need to be in a place, and Rehoboth Elementary School is the perfect place to do this. If there are no kids, this whole thing could be, we could rethink it. And there are several other places where we could have this. We no longer need the big space if there are not going to be kids. So an alternative would be to think about celebrating this with just the mayor. We could possibly do the poster, we'll do the poster program at City Hall, but we're movable in that case. And we could think about going back to Central Park. It looks as if Liz has already cleared that area. And the plan there, and we were there last year because we had Central Park where we had 170 kids planting seedlings. So that's why we were at Central Park last year, was really for the kids. But Liz did clear that area, and it's along 4th Street, I believe, between Cookman and
3rd, isn't it?
And third, thank you. Anyway, I think everybody knows where that area is. Liz had proposed, was thinking about a little pocket park there, actually putting in a bench. But we figured that we could put up 3 oak trees. And the thinking last year is that it was going to be 30 years of a tree city. And so there'd be 3 oaks for 10 years each. But that, again, we could use Lake Avenue if, in fact, people didn't want to use that site. So it's really open in terms of what we do, where we have it. If we're simply going to read the proclamation and dedicate 3 trees, I'd love to think of some other activities or something else that we could do to celebrate this. So I think we've got a little time to think about that, but I'm trying to think of some other things that could be done. I don't know how Bunky and our song would go over with adults, but something else needs to be done.
We'd love it again.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta do it. Okay, Dick, that's just tradition now. So I'm really hoping for the kids, okay?
We might bring in some guest vocalists. I think we might.
Well, I was thinking, I mean, we could sponsor, possibly sponsor a Zoom lecture. I mean, somebody had mentioned, who is it? Rick Drake. You know, we need to do something, and get a little bit of time to think about that. But if it's adults only, I do think we need to do something. And I'd love to bring in the Commemorative Tree. I think we need to talk that up. So, any questions, thoughts?
A couple things, Andrew. First of all, thank you so much. You've obviously put a great deal of thought and work into this, and we really appreciate it because this is an event that requires a lot of coordination, and you're really very much on top of things and early on too. I guess one thing I wonder is how, since there's a lot of lead time needed, when would the go or no go decision be made in terms of the school and the kids and all that?
I have to be in touch. This is a really big problem right now because I have not talked to at least the one teacher that's there. Mm-hmm. If in the next week I don't hear from that teacher, I have her home phone number and I'm finally going to resort to that. If I don't hear, I will be in touch with the principal within the next week or so.
Okay.
To talk to her about what the situation is, because just don't know.
And I'm assuming you mean because of COVID, right? That we just don't know where things will be in April.
Yeah.
And they may not either.
Correct.
They may absolutely not.
Correct.
And so that's why I wonder, whether we can wait till, I don't know, February to decide, or whether we'd have to decide before the end of the year, or whether what.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I mean, I'm really hoping we can still do the poster contest.
Yes.
The kids loved seeing their stuff up at City Hall. And, since it's right there, they can press their little faces up against the window and see their pictures. So we, and it was an easy hang. We got it up really quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that seems doable. Well, I mean, I guess the other thing I was thinking is, you mentioned some other locations. You also mentioned the Lake Street project. The only thing is, we might want to make that separate from Arbor Day, in that we're going to use that to sort of commemorate the ribbon cutting for that project or
Okay.
something. So I don't know,
Okay.
in a way they're kind of separate. Plus, I think Terry had talked about maybe wanting to have some at Lake Gerard. So I don't know if that would be part of the Lake Avenue project, or that would be potentially part of Arbor Day, but open it up to others.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Terry?
can you hear
Oh,
me?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I would prefer to really, instead of having the trees at Central Park, which to me is basically taking, Coles to Newcastle, I would rather use those trees somewhere else where they would be, I think it would make a really good picture in terms of advertising what we're doing. So that's why I was thinking of just another location. But I understand why you had originally picked that. I just think maybe we could think of another location where it would make more of an impact.
Yeah. Terry, the only question I have about Lake Gerard, I did go down there when Liz and I were looking for big open space for the kids. We went down there, and I don't know where on Lake Gerard you're thinking, but the issue with Lake Gerard when I went looking for spots with her was, and this may be, I mean, it may not be that important. She felt that we could not plant really big canopy trees in Lake Gerard because they just wouldn't, that's not an environment. There was too much wind from the ocean, and nothing large would really survive.
But here's my thought, there are other trees down there that it wouldn't have to be large canopy, but maybe we could do something that, obviously there are trees that grow in that environment. So maybe we can come up with some other, trees that would work better in that location. Because walking down there, I just think there's so many big open areas, and you can tell where trees are cut down. And I just, that's an area that, maybe I'm just thinking in terms of in the future, if we could focus on an area. I'd also like to focus maybe on Country Club Estates, because that's another area that really needs trees. So, and that all has to do with the money that we can hopefully get in with the Commemorative Tree program.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing about would we do something other than a canopy tree for Arbor Day? I don't have an opinion. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, you could do pines or anything.
Okay.
Because there are pines down there already.
Yeah, I mean, that was me.
Yeah, I guess I just wondered if we should, do that as part of, the commemorative tree, or but stick to the largest ones for Arbor Day. I'm open. I don't have any particular idea, but I'd like to cover all the bases. I have the same concerns a little bit about Central Park, but at the same time, I know that Liz has cleared that area with the idea of doing a pocket park there. So I'm not completely against it. I mean, there are a lot of good options here.
Yeah.
What happened to the tree that was planted 2 years ago did not survive, did it? I don't believe it did it? At the school?
No, that is going to be.
I mean, it does well, and that's fatality is part of the equation. I'm just curious. I'm not suggesting that we just keep doing it until we get it right, but I guess there are opportunities still at the school potentially.
Definitely,
including the one that didn't make it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm just wondering, not an obligation, but would we want to have a responsibility to ensure that the trees that we attempt to do ceremonial trees, like, can we replace them or something like that, or do something with that, just so we can say it happened, you know what I mean? So
part of the
And
reason
I'm thinking
that
in context, was that tree not provided by the state? I don't remember.
we bought it. We
You bought
bought it.
Okay.
Liz bought it.
So the
Right,
city,
Liz bought it. The problem is, Bunky, it was planted in April and school got
right.
out and no one did anything to it. What I'm thinking is, and part of the reason I wanted to, I mean, I think that the elementary school, really, we could plant a forest over there. But there'd be ownership if you know, if the teachers would use this as part of their curriculum and, you know, the kids go out and water it and watch it grow, there's ownership there. I'm hoping, anyway.
I guess, here's, well, I'm just thinking this is somewhat of a flaw of the program. Why would we plant it then? You know what I mean? Why, and I'm trying to figure this in terms of, you want to have a celebration of trees in the spring, you know, that all makes sense and stuff like that, but it's a crappy time to plant a tree. We really should be planting a tree like in, you know, September or something like that, you know, so, I'm just wondering, like, if we can make the program function that we have sort of a proxy tree, we have a fake tree, you know, celebrate that tree, then come back later and plant the tree for real. You know, I'm just trying to think practically here, because what's the sense of doing this if we're going to plant dead trees, you know?
See, that was the presentation I did last year where I actually had pictures of those trees and I had pictures of the dead trees that have been planted for Arbor Day for the last couple of years, but they all died. And that's why I was mentioning to Andrea the other day when I talked to her, maybe we could separate these two events. I know that it's very important to have the educational aspect, which I firmly believe in, but separate that from where we're putting the tree and who would take care of it. I think that needs to be a separate issue. And I think that we should plant more, for example, more than one tree. And I think that we should put it in a location where it will have watering bags, that where we would have adults monitor it, because it's impossible. And that was my point last year I made, was it's impossible for the students to water it through the summer. There's no one there. So that's why I'm thinking maybe we can work on a different location, have the educational aspect and all of that, but then the actual tree planting, put it somewhere where adults can monitor it through the summer. I believe we should have more than 2 or 3.
Or to Bunky's point, could you separate the two activities? Could you do the tree planting in the fall?
Yeah,
We've done Arbor Day in the fall before, haven't
absolutely.
we? Yeah.
So, and that,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember last year I had all those photographs of the pictures that had died.
Yeah, I definitely,
So maybe do the educational aspect. with the
I definitely think that we could separate.
Oops.
Yeah, I definitely think we can separate the planting. The tree could be there. We bring the kids out and have them water. No, definitely doable. I mean, we could get them planted in March. If we can get the kids, if we can do the research and get all the educational stuff done, plant them in March and then have the kids come out and water them in April.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also think there's probably landscape people there now. I mean, there's going to be, I would assume that they've got people working on the grounds all year round. I mean, I don't know about that, but that's something I can check on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I recall, and Bunky, you'll know this better than I, that when the school plan went through the planning commission, they had a pretty ambitious landscape.
Yeah, and surprisingly, they didn't take down those double crab apples that I thought they were going to mow down, and I'm kind of grateful they did. But I thought due to their health, they were, those trees don't last forever, so I thought that they were going to take them down, but they're still there and they look fine. They didn't get disturbed in the construction. I will say a lot of the trees that they planted now around those pickleball courts and the basketball court and everything, they're like leaning over. They really look crappy. They're going to die. They're small ornamentals. They're not big trees or anything. But I feel kind of bad that they're being neglected. And I'm sure the contractor or obviously the school system paid for them, and they're going to die. But I there's a lot of, at least for me, the people at Schoolview, we obviously we go past there, we're going to go into town, we go across the bridge, but there could be some kind of a group us or in some form that sort of attends to like what you guys were saying, but even in a in some way that like for example, that space, you know, in the treed area, you know, between the courts and the lake,
Yeah.
that area is really a mess. There's a bunch of tree limbs that'll come down or anything like that. It really needs to be cleared out. I'm assuming they're going to attend to it. I don't know when, but if they're not, it's another sort of, you know, Central Park scenario that we could go in there and clean it up or something like that. You know, with other people. I'm sure, you know, people in the neighborhood, Noble Scarborough and stuff like that would be interested in participating. So, anyway, I mean, it's a site.
That might,
I didn't hear you.
that might be a good Arbor Day project. Clean it
Yeah.
up.
I mean, it's going to be work. I mean,
Have the neighborhood,
it's
a neighborhood.
real estate there, you know, and they're building this little
Right.
outdoor kind of teaching area where they build these benches. That's not finished yet. They're also building
Yes.
looks like a little archway or something that you're going to go through to go down the path to the bridge. It's going to be really nice, you know. So, and they have a pavilion there and all that stuff. So
I'm serious. That's a good,
yeah, I mean, you
let's
know,
think about that.
yeah. So
What a community cleanup.
Yeah, as part
First
of
thing we're gonna do is take down that tree.
You're thinking as part of Arbor Day or something else?
Yeah, why not?
well, it could be part of our activities, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you what, this is a lot of food for thought. What are our next steps? Are we still in wait mode?
I need to get in touch. I need to get in touch with the teachers
Yeah.
and the principal. And I will ask about who's going to take care of, I will ask about the landscaping if she knows. Okay. I will check on that.
Okay.
To
Yeah,
see who's going to take care of.
Yeah, I just want to add on and emphasize what Bunky said. You know, a lot of resources have gone in so far to some of those plantings, and they're not being taken care of. I mean, Bunky's entirely correct, and it's sad to go by there and see these plants that you know, need to be getting a healthy start as we go into winter, and they've been knocked over by wind and rain, and it's just really too bad that there's not care there. And I'm sure they notice it, but I would think the school system must have some kind of a landscape or contract with someone.
That's
So, you know, I think it could be, you know, in a sense, part of our responsibility. I think this is what Bunky was saying, that, you know, we care about it.
Yeah, I mean,
So let's talk to them about it and see if we, even if it means putting a little pressure on them to get on top of this situation.
well, the thing is, you know, when the school, you know, went and did, you know, when they came before, at least our experience when they came before the planning commission, and they talked about, you know, how the school is a community asset. Obviously, it's their school, it's on their property, it's their thing, you know. It's not like, but they were, you know, very emphatic about, you know, sharing it with the community and, you know, providing access and all that kind of stuff. And I certainly appreciate that gesture. And I think the community has a responsibility to sort of help out with that. So, you know, I mean, I don't think we can just barge in there and start, you know, cleaning stuff. Obviously, there's got to be cooperation, no question. But I think it would be vital for them to know that there is, you know, feelings about that we would like to contribute in some way, you know. And I don't know if that has to be you know, a citywide endeavor or a more localized endeavor with the, you know, surrounding neighborhoods or something like that. But, you know, I would certainly be happy in, you know, going over there and, you know, being part of like the friends of the grounds of the school, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, some kind of deal like that. But, you know, I mean, I think they'd appreciate it. You know?
I will follow up.
Yeah.
I will follow up with the principal and report back. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. That's all.
Yeah.
It's really good that we're planning ahead. Okay, so the next thing is updates on the Commemorative Tree program, including the website updates and fundraising. Liz is on vacation, actually, so we won't have a planting update today because she's away. Hopefully we can do that next month. But Terry, do you want to talk about some of this stuff?
Starting with the website update, I went back on the website and just kind of took a look at it. And I've been in touch with Chris in terms of updating information on that, because currently we have, let's see here, 43 donors, almost $24,000 have been put in. I personally know three more $1,000 contributions that are planning to come in probably within the next 2 weeks. In terms of marketing, that was a big thing that we talked about last time. One of the things that I did was I called, in the Cape Gazette last summer, there was a really good article about Lewis and Bloom and how they had raised the $50,000 for their planting. So I actually called one of their sponsors on their board, Marilyn Vi, and one of the things that she was saying is that, I was talking to her about how they were able to do that so successfully, so quickly, and she said that they actually did. They got information through a local realtor, and they did mass mailings, and they did social media through email and different things to really advertise it. And then they also did interviews with the WBOC and WRTV that are the local stations to advertise it. And let's see, one of the things that a question I had for you, Susan, was the emails that you send out, how many contacts approximately do you have on your list for that?
Between my updates?
Mm-hmm.
About 500 or so, I think.
Is that something that we could use in terms of if we put together some kind of marketing campaign with maybe a flyer, that we could use that list of email names to send it out to?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I actually wondered though, the city has a huge email list, much, and of course it's people not just in the city, but that's okay. And so I don't know, have you ever talked to Chris about that?
No, I have to set up a meeting because I wanted to kind of talk today a little bit, and then I'm going to set up a meeting because I'm going to be in town next week with her.
Yeah.
But that was my next question for her, because I'd like to put together some kind of a advertising flyer.
Right.
With the holidays coming up, and that's like we talked about last time. That's a perfect opportunity to get to send that information out. The other thing I was going to ask you about, I'd like to do, we're having, Andrea and I talked about this. We're going to have a table at the farmers market.
The farmers market.
Saturday after Thanksgiving. And what I'd like to do, I was going to try to do a really nice flyer that we could have, a huge, like a banner that we could have at that time. Here's one of my questions. 3 years ago, when we had that Tremendous Rehoboth campaign, it was basically privately sponsored by individuals. One of the things I was going to do on the banner was say something like, help us keep Rehoboth tremendous. Can we use that, or is that something that is something that's associated with that other organization?
Oh, I don't see any reason. It wasn't really an organization so much. It was just an initiative. So I don't see why not. I mean, I'll ask Chris or Sharon if they have a problem with it, but I don't see why we couldn't. And in terms of the email list, by the way, I'd like to do sort of all of the above. I can certainly include it in a newsletter, whether it's the one, I don't actually know when I'm doing the one this month yet. So I don't know if I'm going to do one this month or just wait and do a sort of combined November, December one. But if you had something ready, I would include it, as well as, suggesting that we look at bigger lists too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was on my list that I was going to talk to Chris about, because I'd really like to.
Absolutely. That'd be great. And I talked to her about some materials for your table at the farmer's market, and she said she was going to do a framed picture of the sculpt tree. And I don't think she has any sample leaves though.
Oh no, and I have those, so I can.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I wanted to coordinate all that with her and make sure we had all the materials.
Right.
One of the questions I had, because I'd like to, she has I think she has a couple hundred of the brochures still left.
Yeah.
I was going to ask any of the members, do any of you folks have brochures on hand? Because I was going to gather as many as I could.
I do, Terry. I probably have 10 to 15.
Oh, okay. So just
a little stack.
Okay, I just didn't know if anybody had, grabbed a big stack of them to use, but I think we're okay. If we have a couple hundred, that'll be more than enough for the farmer's market. Um, um,
In terms of the other, of course, there's a big cost associated with mass mailing, so I'm not sure what we could do there. But in terms of the other promotional efforts, even social media and TV and all, I think we would have to coordinate with with Chris on that
oh,
because
sure.
it's from the city. But I know, she's been very supportive of our efforts, and we are a city committee, so I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that.
And I think it would be great if we could do like an interview in front of the tree at City Hall.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that for itself, and then we could show how the leaves are engraved and, people get their.
Right. Right.
So, and the other thing is, I'd like to work with her about getting, obviously getting some articles in the Cape Gazette
Yeah.
to get that out before the holidays. Let me see here, what else?
Yeah, actually, I think that's right. I'm remembering now that at our last meeting, we talked about because you need sort of a hook for if there's going to be a story, like, is it a day? It's a celebration of something. Is it a critical date? Did something happen? And I think what we talked about was using the name change as the sort of hook for a press release. So, and that's going to be on the agenda for our meeting next Friday, November 20th meeting to have that voted on.
Okay, so that's.
So at that point, it will be, official and, we can move forward then.
And I also think, we should just keep getting articles in the Cape Gazette because, at the farmer's market, we can take photographs of that and then do an article about that, how we're pushing that for the holidays.
Right, right.
So at least that'll get us, into the holidays. Because in talking to the person from Lewis and Bloom, she was mentioning that she's still getting contributions because they reached out. They mainly used homeowners. They were like churches, homeowners, businesses. So I think we just need to really just get more advertising out there about what we're doing.
Yeah, and we should be able to work through the homeowner group, through RBHA, through Country Club. We should be able to do that.
Yeah, because they were great.
The more we can do through, electronic means, obviously, the more the reach and also the lower the cost. I mean, again, that's much better than trying to do mailings.
Exactly. And I remember several years ago, one of the things that I kept mentioning, and this was back when Sam Cooper was mayor, I remember sitting across the table from him, but I really would like, and I've mentioned this to you, Susan, I'd really like to get a real estate agent on our committee because they really know who's moving in, who are.
I was supposed to send you that form because you met somebody who was interested, and we do have a couple of openings. So yes, I got to do that.
That's my next question. So there is a possibility there's an opening there on our.
Oh, absolutely, yes, because we currently have 8, and there's no set number. It's better to have an odd number in case we vote, but there's no set number. So we could have, we could have 9, we could have 10. I mean, we could have 9, we could have 11. Yeah.
You know what?
I sort of favor a larger number because we have so many initiatives, and we need different people to be working on different pieces of it.
Yeah. Well, I'll reach out to that realtor again because he's actually, I think I mentioned to you, he's actually a tree steward.
Yeah, that's great.
If we could get that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll reach out to him again. I just think that they have a lot of insight into who's moving into the area and
Right.
contact with other realtors that would be good contacts. So okay, so I think as far as the commemorative trees, I hope we'll get a good turnout at the holiday market.
Right. I hope the weather's good.
Oh, I do too. So
Yeah.
When is the holiday market?
that is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Are you?
Saturday? Yeah, we'll be there.
And I think is Joan.
I can help.
Joan, can you hear me? Is she there?
Oh, you're
Muted,
you're
Joan.
muted.
John's muted.
Hi, yes, I promised to help out that day.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because I'll be there. So I figure we're
If you just want to circle back with me, we can decide on how to meet in terms of dividing up hours or helping each other during the setup, et cetera.
I think it's from
Noon to 3.
Okay, well,
Hi, I'm back.
I'm happy to help, Terry, if you
Noon
need.
to 3.
Yeah, so you'll be in town. That's great.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. I'm wondering if that might be the hook for the television station just that it's a, special market, and maybe they're always looking for community activities.
Yeah.
It might be that we could get them there.
Like I said, I'd really like to start doing some kind of, PR in front of the tree itself. So that we'll visually really see what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, and you could take them over to to City Hall, to the tree.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll keep you folks updated. I'm going to meet with Chris. I just got an email back from her today. So I'll meet with her and kind of talk to her about ideas for getting some of this out to the community.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Terry. That's great. Some good fundraising efforts probably ongoing. The next thing in terms of priorities that we talked about was creating an online a collection of curating, I guess, an online collection of educational materials. And I know I got some things. At least you'd sent the ones from Mount Cuba, and we also got information on tree tenders. And one thing well, first of all, it occurred to me after the meeting that we probably need, in addition to just collecting this stuff, a curriculum, like to sort of get an outline of what is it we want to collect, and then fill in the pieces where those materials exist. But the other big question is, because some of these that we've gotten are webinars that are specific dates, so they're not just available at any time, and they're also not free. So I didn't know whether we wanted to have a mix of paid programs or whether we wanted to also curate an online site that would have materials that be available to anybody anytime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an answer for that. That's just a question.
I think that UDEL would be a resource for that, would it not?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I mean, I think I can talk to Tom about it, Tom Evans.
Okay.
I'm sure he's acquainted.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking it would be great to have a set of resources on our link on our website, on the city's website.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, set up categories or curriculum.
Right. Yeah.
I'm thinking how to plant a tree, how to maintain a tree, the best way to water a new tree. There's so much out there.
Right.
The whole ivy issue. I see so much more ivy on trees.
Yeah.
Growing, on private property. It's driving me nuts. I want to pull it down myself. And I know we've got some good materials on that, the dangers of ivy.
Right. And so you're thinking of materials that would be always available as opposed to a course.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Well, thinking maybe two parts, having materials always available.
Yeah.
Okay. And being a go-to site for homeowners and residents. And then thinking about a curriculum, which is a bigger lift.
Right.
How we do that.
Yeah.
And it would make sense to have a mix of free and ones that, may cost a little. And it's going to be hard because, it's hard to find those.
Right. And that
is the problem. And finding it in a timely manner. So you have enough time to lead time.
Well, and that's going to be the other problem, is that if it's course based, then it's going to require constant updating. As opposed to us. And so I actually wasn't sure where we were going with it, whether we were getting courses, which is, I guess, what you normally think of when you think of curriculum, or if we were thinking of just curating educational materials that live on the website, that are organized in a way that form their own curriculum, if you see what I mean.
Hi. It strikes me that one of the ways to think about it, though, is seasons. The season of spring, what do you need to do? The season of fall, what do you need to do? Might be a way to organize.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Does anybody want to take on the task of sort of thinking about what the structure would be and how we organize it and where we might be able to get materials, not to complete it, but just to go the next step to actually sort of creating an outline for it? Anybody want to work on that?
Want to do, help on that? Sure.
Okay. I'll help with it too myself.
Okay.
I just want to get some ideas.
I'll help.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, then we'll keep plugging away on that one, I think. For the next one under old business, and we're doing very well here on time, I think, on the review of the Commemorative Tree Program. Again, I think Liz we've already heard some things just based on where we're going in the future, but Liz could give us an update on exactly what's been planted, and she can do that next time if she's available. As Terry mentioned, we've raised about $24,000, and I did get notice from Bert in the finance department that we've actually ordered that the city planted 50 additional trees at a cost of about 26,000. So we did fund 50 new trees in the city through the program so far. So that's a good development, and now we do it, I guess.
Susan, does that mean all the funds have been used then, up to date?
He didn't express it that way, but I think essentially that's what that means. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Going back, I meant to go back to what Elise was saying about the educational.
Yeah.
Information, and I think Davis Trees. Is it Davis Trees in Washington? Are they the organization?
Davy trees.
Davy, yeah.
That would be a really good format, because I'm sure they have unbelievable, resources that they put out.
Is it Davy Tree in Washington that does that?
Yeah.
It's a national company. It's not just.
Yeah, I know, but I also thought there was a group in Washington that was really well regarded for their work in trees. It's an organization. It has a different name. I just can't think of the name of it.
Casey Trees. It's Casey.
Okay, that's it. That's what you're thinking of.
Elise,
Yeah.
I would be willing to watch the Casey Trees and give you input from that source, the
Okay.
Casey Trees.
I haven't looked at them recently, but a few years ago I did, and it's amazing.
They're fabulous. Yeah.
Incredible.
We could even just format it, from them.
Right, exactly. Sort of crib from that. Yeah, exactly.
No, but they have access to so much educational material.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the only topic under new business is a discussion of the state of the tree canopy. That actually is on here because of a conversation I had with Andrea. And I don't know if you want to pick this up in terms of the question you were asking me, but or whether you want me just to sort of tell you
Just launch into it. Just launch into it, Susan.
I can't remember what question you asked me. I think you asked me something about is there any way to know what our percentage canopy is, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I was reminded, I sort of was going way back in my memory on this. When we first met back in 2017, I think one of our goals at the time was to increase the tree canopy to, I think it was 40% or 45% or something. And this was a goal that I saw in many, it was sort of a standard number that was being used in many communities around the country. And I don't know if it's the Davy Tree Report or some other metric we had. It was probably 10 years ago, showed that our canopy was 34% or something, and so this was the goal to go to 40. Then the state had some technological developments, and again, this is all from memory, so I don't know if I'm going to get the numbers exactly right. In the middle of all this discussion in 2017, it became apparent that the state had some new technology tools, and they had done their own assessments in various communities. I think Liz showed us. You could go on the site, you could zero in on your community, you could get all this great data. And we did, and lo and behold, we were already at we were more than the goal. We were like at 45% or something, which was great news. But the problem was the technology is so sophisticated that it gets more than trees. In other words, it basically was counting other green things, bushes and smaller trees. So it wasn't strictly a canopy number. So it wasn't an apples to apples comparison to the canopy number from before. And as a result of that, this was happening everywhere too. This technology was being used, all over the country. And so what happened as a result of that is communities started raising their goal because to sort of compensate for the fact that it was a more detailed tool. And so the numbers now are like over 50%. And I don't know where we are in that. I have not looked at that in several years. But I suppose we ought to take another look at it. And if we're going beyond strictly canopy trees, to emphasize, especially with our new mission of green infrastructure, then I guess it's not a problem to see all green, to look at basically the green of the city. The other thing that I got really excited about was in the new CDP, there are these maps, very detailed maps of different aspects of the city, and one of them is green space. I heard the consultant who's working on the CDP say that at a meeting a couple months ago, and I got very excited because I have always wanted to know, beyond just trees, how much green space there is in the city. And my understanding is we will soon actually know that. So that will be a great number to have. And, and then I guess we can look at whether to separate out a canopy goal as a separate aspect, or whether to just look at everything green.
The tree that overarches your house count as green space?
Huh?
I don't know.
The what?
Look, we count the canopy. If a tree,
Right, I'm just saying, I mean, if you can do like the lot coverage angle, but then you have tree coverage, which may cover things, it's going to be a can of worms. So,
yeah.
I think to follow up on Susan's, on what Susan has just said, I'm really interested in knowing what the split is between public and private green space and green space and tree canopy or trees. So, and I guess to go forward with that, I know that I've talked to Terry, I've talked to, I don't know, a few other people about what we can do to plant more trees, get more native growth on private property.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And,
I think that's a big question.
and the interesting thing was, I think I told you this the other day when we talked, it was the timing was really great when you called me to ask me this question, because I was working on the minutes from the November 2019 meeting where that was a big topic of discussion.
Right.
Private versus public. And I think what we said then was that the city needed to set a standard, to set an example.
Right.
And if we do more on city property, then it will motivate people, or people will, or we can use it as also a way to educate people the importance of trees, and they'll see if the city's taking it seriously, then, they may want to step up. So, and I think we also talked about, providing incentives, but I guess we haven't really, we haven't gotten very far with that. So that the timing is good. That when some of this mapping data comes out, we can use that.
And when do we think that's going to come out, Susan?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the draft, I think, of the whole document may be ready sometime in December, from what I hear. There's going to be an update at the Planning Commission meeting this afternoon, but my understanding is that what I don't know is if it'll be everything or just a few chapters or what. But they've gotten an extension to complete it through next July, and the process to complete it includes not only time for the public to review it, but time for the state to review it. So the clock's ticking. I mean, they would have to have it within the next couple of months in order to even make that July, certification deadline. Let's see where we are.
Okay.
Here. Okay. So, any other committee member comments before we talk about items for future agendas? And I think we do have some, so I don't want to miss that. But any comments first?
I just had a question. Has the city website been updated on the Commemorative Tree program? Are these new stats on the website?
And that's why I'm meeting with Chris, because I realized when I went to the website yesterday, February.
It's going down again.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Terry. Could you say that again?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Feel better.
That's better.
It has not been updated since February. And
No,
when
it hasn't.
that's why I sent an email to Chris and said, we really need to work on the website. It needs to be updated as far as numbers and dates.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely on my list.
Okay, good. Okay.
So at least going back to something that's been kind of like a series of discussions all through all these different meetings. there have been people who have said, and I know, Elise, I was talking to you recently about this, people who have said, well, if I give you a donation to the Commemorative Tree Fund, I want to make sure that it's going to only the planting of trees. And
Yeah.
in fact, I called Tony Sharp, the former head of our committee, and she said, yes, if you look on the brochure, we talked about it a year ago, it says right on the brochure that the money for the Commemorative Tree Fund will only go toward the planting of trees.
Mm-hmm,
So there's no,
mm-hmm, yeah.
And that's what the invoice from the landscaping company pretty much confirmed. So, so that was good. In terms of agenda, we'll obviously have a more of an update. I'm sorry, were you done, Terry, on that part? An Arbor Day update, right? And then I assume we want to continue talking about these various fundraising efforts, right? For Commemorative Tree.
Yeah.
Because by then it'll be past the time of the market one. So we'll have a report on that, and then an update of moving forward. And then more discussion of this educational curriculum. And what else?
I'd like to do an update on how we're going to be marketing the Commemorative Tree Fund going forward.
Right. Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, before I forget, I know we only have a couple minutes. We didn't really talk about the tree tender program, but I had there's a possibility that there are courses being offered, and there are people interested in taking them. But there's also an opportunity to perhaps partner with Rehoboth in Bloom on a tree tending effort. In other words, they may expand their work beyond just plantings to trees, and they may have some people interested in doing that. So it wasn't on the agenda for today, so I couldn't invite Cindy Lovett in to talk about that. But if we think we're ready to talk about that next month, we could try to do that as well.
I'll mention that they're having a Facebook pledge drive that's underway, and I think they're about to meet their goal, but I think I'm just giving a shout out to them.
Is it specifically for tree tenders, or is it for Rehoboth and Bloom in general?
It's for
Rehoboth
Rehoboth and Bloom, and
It's in general.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well,
But let
then
me just add to that. I'm one of the lead volunteers with Rehoboth and Bloom, and there's a real cooperative spirit there to cooperate with our committee here and with any other group that just has this general interest. So it's a very cooperative spirit as they go forward.
Right. Okay. Well, great. I think that's I think that it would be great to join forces on trees, and because give us more people involved and extend our reach. And
there is an eager group to get involved in taking care of the trees. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying you want to get involved for next month's meeting?
Yes, that's what I was going to try to do, which is December. So the date then is what, December 11th? Would be the next meeting. Yeah. And obviously birth. So
yeah.
Okay.
Good. That sounds great.
And no one from the public signed up to talk today. So I guess if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn at 10:58.
Okay.
Sound good? All right.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, have a very happy Thanksgiving too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
See everybody on the Saturday after.
Happy Thanksgiving.